Hey guys, let's get straight to the point. The video that you just saw was recorded on the Sony a7 IV, color graded in Final Cut Pro, and we added the anamorphic effect from MotionVFX, and the effects is absolutely free. So the first thing I want to show you guys is how to download that effect. You just need to go to motionvfx.com and search for one thing before you download the plugin, because you need an installer in order to install the plugin into your MacBook or Mac device. So you just search for M installer, and you'll see that you'll be brought to this page where you can get M installer for Mac or Windows. Download that, and then you can search for the plugin. This plugin is actually hidden in a plugin called M Multiverse. I'll explain to you why. You can just go search up for Doctor Strange, because this entire package is basically made because of the new Doctor Strange movie Into the Multiverse of Madness, and it's called M Multiverse. Right here on this page, you can see that they have multiple effects, but today we're going to talk about just the anamorphic effect, because that makes your video a lot more film-like, and you don't have to use an anamorphic lens in order to use or have certain effects that makes the lens look like anamorphic. If you don't know what anamorphic lenses do, they basically squeeze the image of what you're filming onto the sensor, and when you put it into your video editor, let's say Final Cut Pro, you have to de-squeeze it to make it a wider aspect ratio, to stretch it so you get that anamorphic look. And also another thing that this plugin really helps is to make the out of focus area really blur out and kind of swirl. All the bokeh, the blurry background is kind of into like this swirl effect, which gives you an anamorphic slash kind of vintage lens look. And a lot of current or modern lenses, especially photo lenses, they're kind of too sharp. That's why having this effect really sells that it was filmed with a cinema lens or an anamorphic lens specifically. So after you download this, you will have to install the M installer and install the plugin through M installer. So there are a couple of steps that you have to do. Once you have installed it, then you'll see it in your Final Cut Pro as a title. So let's jump into Final Cut Pro and take a quick look. So the first video or image that you're looking at right now was filmed with an actual anamorphic lens on the BMPCC 4K camera, and this is a 1.33 times anamorphic lens. That means the image is squeezed in a 1.33 times ratio. So when you stretch it out, you have to de-squeeze it with the same ratio, 1.33 times. This is what you're gonna get after you de-squeeze it. One thing you might notice that I forgot to mention, when you are filming with an anamorphic lens, there is always gonna be black bars at the top and bottom, naturally, because the image was recorded in a 16:9 or sometimes 4:3 sensor. When you de-squeeze it, the empty space at the top and bottom are replaced by black bars. So that's another characteristics of anamorphic lenses. Sometimes people add in like fake black bars just to make it look like a wider aspect ratio, like an anamorphic lens. But this time, this image right here was naturally filmed with an anamorphic lens. That's why you have the black bars. No matter what, you don't have anything within the black area or the black bar areas. So let's play this clip a little bit so you can see the effect of an anamorphic lens. As I said, the out of focus area is really soft and swirly kind of bokeh. And on the other clip right here, especially, you can see that the out of focus area is really soft. That's what I really like. And that's why I use anamorphic lenses the most, because of this effect. It gives you a really filmic look out of your digital camera, and that looks really good to me. In the other clip, you can see that the focus area is on the right hand side, and the left hand side is the out of focus area. And again, the out of focus area is really soft and smooth. The next clip is one of the clips that you saw at the beginning of this video, which is filmed with the a7 IV with the 35mm f1.8 Sony lens. It's a photo lens, it's a spherical lens, which means the image is basically perfectly fitting into the sensor and nothing is squeezed, has to be de-squeezed, so that's why it filled up the entire screen. This is before color grading and before adding in the anamorphic effect or plugin from MotionVFX. By the way, we're not sponsored by MotionVFX. I download the plugin because it's free and I love it a lot. That's why I want to talk about it. And let me put in some colors on this footage. I basically color graded it like before already, so I can just check all the boxes. And this is the colored version. I colored it using Final Cut Pro. I color graded using Final Cut Pro, not DaVinci Resolve. I realized that like I can do the same, not the same, but similar effect, or I actually like this color more than I use DaVinci Resolve to color the S-Log3 footage. I don't know why. But this is a colored version, but you'll notice that it is still not having that swirl kind of bokeh or blurry background effect, and it doesn't have the black bars. And the next thing I'm gonna do is to add in that plugin. So what happened is you have to go to your titles page and you look for Multiverse. That's where the anamorphic, or the free anamorphic effect is built in. Basically, a lot of people are asking me that, like, where can you find that anamorphic effect? Because the other plugin package, they have anamorphic effects, like mostly the lens flare, and you have to pay for that package, but this is a free one. So all you need to do is to drag this effect on top of your clip, and you will notice immediately that black bars showed up. I'm gonna hide that titles bar so you won't be bothered by that too much. So this is with the anamorphic effect added onto the clip. You'll see that the black bars are there and the swirl bokeh effect, the blurry background is there really strongly. So I'm gonna show you how I adjust it to make it look a little bit more natural, not super strong like this one right here. This reminds me of the new Batman movie where they have anamorphic lenses custom made and the swirl effect is really strong. Compared to what we filmed using the actual anamorphic lens, you can see that the swirly effect is really strong in this one right here when you first put it in. So if you want to adjust the strength of the anamorphic effect plugin, all you need to do is to to select that effect, and you have all the options here. I was so surprised that you have all these things that you can adjust, because it's a free plugin, but they still give you a lot of options and a lot of adjustments, which is amazing. And the first thing that you'll notice is at the top, I'm just going to talk about the ones that I use. I don't really touch the other ones because they don't look too natural to me. And the more you add into your footage, the less it looks natural. So I just want to keep it simple. The first thing that I'm going to adjust is the effect strength. I don't know why it's in a degree kind of measurement. Don't ask me why, because I have no idea. It's kind of confusing. But this one, originally when you first put in the effect, it's going to be sitting at 90 degree. What I found natural or not as strong or artificial is to set it to 70. So now you see that before I adjusted, it was really strong of a swirly effect. You can actually see it if you increase it like this with your mouse. The higher it goes, the stronger the effect. You can see that it's almost like a spinning kind of effect. So what I found the most natural is 70 degree. Right here, you can adjust the radius basically to close it in and make more things affect by that swirly kind of effect. But I am just gonna leave it at 100 unless you really want someone to focus on one specific spot of the image. And the next one is the letterbox, basically the black bars at the top and the bottom. I'm gonna adjust it because this is not what we had when we were using an actual anamorphic lens. You can see that the black bars here are much thicker because this is again a 1.33 times anamorphic lens. When you de-squeeze it, you are getting a 2.4:1 aspect ratio. That's 241, usually they call it. And in order to get similar kind of black bars, you will have to do one thing, which is down here at the letterbox area. You can remove the letterbox if you want to. It still looks really cool, but in order to sell it as an anamorphic kind of look, you'll have to adjust it here, the letterbox size. I don't know what PX is again, but I found that in order to get the 2.4 by 1 aspect ratio, you have to go with 0.7. This way you will have thicker black bars that match kind of like what we had with an anamorphic lens, an actual one. So those are the adjustments I would suggest you to do when you put in this effect on your clip. And to be honest with you, it's completely up to you. Like the strength and the letter size, black bars size, you can adjust it according to your liking. So this is just what I use and what I like. Another thing that I want to mention is when you are using this effect on your image or your footage, you'll notice one thing. It's really weird. I wish they didn't put it in, but they did. So if I disable this effect right here, right now, you'll see that the image gets squeezed. But this is the original image that was filmed with a spherical lens, so it shouldn't be squeezed. So that's why it should not be de-squeezed by the effect. It's kind of stretching it. So you notice that this is before the squeezed one, after a de-squeezed one. So everything gets stretched to the side. I don't know why, but I really don't like it because it makes everything look fat because it's like stretching it to the sides. So what happened is, what you need to do is go to your original image, go to the effects tab right here, and you'll have to do a transform. Basically, you'll have to squeeze it, and the Anamorphic effects plugin will de-squeeze it in order to make it look normal and natural. And the ratio that I found that works pretty close to like what I like, or back to normal, it's 95% at scale X. Before it was 100, and you can see that it gets stretched by the anamorphic effect. But if I set it to 95, it goes back to the normal kind of size, or the non-squeezed or de-squeezed version. So this is another thing that you have to pay attention when you're using this effect, because it will distort your image if you don't do anything to transform it. So this is how I set it up, and I'm going to show you before the effect and after the effect. This is before. You notice that I have 2 black bars on the side because I squeeze it by 95% using the transform. And now I just apply the anamorphic effect. You can see that the out of focus area is really smooth and swirl, and this is what a vintage lens usually look like, and a lot of people actually use vintage lenses for this kind of effect, but you don't have to. You can use this plugin, and I'm just going to show you guys how it looks like with the other clips. So I have another clip here. This is not going to be as obvious because of how this was filmed, but I'm going to add in the colors that I used, or the color wheels that I used to color grade this, and I'm going to again squeeze it by 95% horizontally and then apply the effect. I'm just going to copy this one. Actually, no, I'm just going to show you guys how I did it before, like very quickly. Just going to put this on top, and I'm going to hide this page. Here I have the effect. Again, the original strength is way too strong. It looks like a dream almost, but again, it's up to you. If you want to make it more dreamlike, do a stronger effect. If not, set it to 70 degree here. That's how I like it. And the letterbox, again, 0.7, and that's it. And it will match perfectly with the previous clip right here. You can see. One thing I forgot to mention is you can actually choose what the effect is centered, basically. Now, every time when you put on this plugin effect, it will start off at the center, of course, obviously, and you can actually move this spot. You can, let's say, oh, I don't want this swirly kind of out of focus area to be in the middle. I want it to be on this person right here, I can do that. You can see that this area is not really showing the swirly effect because of that, because of the radius of the effect. But I can also put it here. You can see that now this store sign is more in focus, but I like to keep it in the center for this one because I was filming and this person was the center of the attention. So that's why I'm going to show you one more time very quickly. Color grade it, transform it 95% horizontally, squeeze it, and add in the anamorphic effect. Oops. Again, it's completely up to you if you want to keep the strength as strong as the 90 degree, but I'll keep it at 70 and letterbox at 0.7 to get the 2.4 by 1 aspect ratio. That's 241 aspect ratio. This is how I like it. So that's how the free anamorphic effect from MotionVFX work, and I really like this effect. Let's talk about some of the pros and cons of using this effect or this plugin right here. The first pro, that of course obviously it's free, so you don't have to do anything and you don't have to buy an anamorphic lens to have that kind of effect, and it looks pretty natural and nice. A lot of people, they won't notice it, especially if they're not like videographers or like cinematographer, they won't be able to tell the difference. A lot of people actually ask me how I did it and they really like it. So the effect is really natural, but of course it's not the real thing, so don't rely on this too much. So the first pro, of course, is free. And the second one is this can be applied to any clips. It can be applied to like a clip that was recorded on your phone or like an action camera or even like a drone. I know they have filters for phone or action camera or drone to have the anamorphic effect, but this is free. Again, you don't have to buy anything. The second thing is it is very easy to apply. As you can see, it took me like 10 seconds to apply the effect and change the numbers. So it's really easy to apply. All I would suggest you to do is to add in your color grade first and make sure that the framing is correct in order to put this effect on, because after you add in the black bars, like you're basically kind of like blocking some of the image or the area of the image. So make sure that you color grade everything, make sure it looks great first, like your framing, your composition, your video looks good first before you apply this effect. But it's very easy. One thing I forgot to mention is you can actually add in film grain in order to make it more film-like. In Final Cut Pro, the film grain is very not that, you don't have that many options, at least the free one that you have built in. You can download more plugins, of course, but what I found is when you add in film grain, you can just go and search it up in your effect tab. I think it's, yeah, effects tab, and once you found film grain, you just put it onto your clip. When you first have it, it will be iMovie grain, which is absolutely like ridiculous. I don't know why. It changes the entire image, like the colors and the color temperature. So don't do that. Switch it to realistic grain. And what I found the most natural is around 30. At least that's how I like it. If you want a more vintage look, you can add in more, but 30 is what I found. It's a kind of like sweet spot. So definitely add in film grain and make it more film-like. Let's talk about some of the cons of using this anamorphic effect plugin from MotionVFX. Of course, it's artificial, so it will be fine if you use it on like shorter video projects, let's say an Instagram post or a short commercial, but I wouldn't suggest you to use it for like a longer like feature film or short film, because it will be too artificial. People will start noticing like, oh, why does it look almost like the same in every frame? So it's still not the real thing, so don't overuse it. I would suggest you to use it on shorter clips and shorter video projects. The second con that I found is you cannot obviously see the effect when you are filming because you're using a spherical lens, a normal video, like more normal aspect ratio lens to film. So you will not be able to see the effect until you add it in post. That also applies to showing the effect to your clients. When you're using an actual anamorphic lens with the proper D-squeeze in camera or in your monitor, you can actually show yourself and the client the effect. But with this plugin, you can't. So that's a really big con. And also for framing and composition, you kind of have to make sure that you have that 2.4:1 aspect ratio frame guide, or else you'll be like filming in 16:9, and then when you put in the black bars, you notice that like you're chopping off like a lot of the area that you filmed. This also decreases the resolution by a little bit because you are getting rid of some of the image. When you're using an anamorphic lens, an actual one, you're not losing any resolution of pixels because everything is squeezed into that image and you're just stretching it, so you're not losing anything. That's one of the cons. The last con that I found is obviously this one does not produce any anamorphic lens flare, the horizontal bluish tealish kind of lens flare when you have a strong light source shining into the lens. So that will kind of let people know that you're actually not using an anamorphic lens. But hey, if you want to, you can download plugins to add in like fake anamorphic lens flare. A lot of people actually don't like those lens flares. I like those lens flares from time to time. So definitely like keep that in mind. You will not have any anamorphic lens flare using just this plugin. That's it. Those are the reasons why we really like this anamorphic effect plugin from MotionVFX. It's free, so definitely give it a try. I don't think you'll be losing anything. So definitely give it a try and let us know what your favorite plugins are in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.